One other thing I wanted to talk about before we get into the latest on the war, and this is really important. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, you already saw my tweet about this, but it made me think a lot because I feel like I cover a lot of things on the show and we pick up on a lot of different threads here and there, but this is something that's really extremely important to follow up on. So this weekend, I saw a tweet from Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire. And as you know, Matt Walsh works for Ben Shapiro. He's a Shabbos goy. He flips the lights on and off. He's a race trader. He's betraying his religion to work for one of the worst Jewish supremacists on the entire planet. And Matt Walsh seems to be having some sort of epiphany lately. He's realizing that, maybe a war in Iran is not in America's interest. And, maybe that's a problem for us. So he puts out this tweet over the weekend, a long tweet, long paragraph. I'm not going to read it to you. But he basically says, this war in Iran is a bad idea. And let the record show that ever since the war started, I said it would be a bad idea. And this is a catastrophe. There's no exit plan. It's causing economic damage, and it's not in our interest, and so on and so forth. And a lot of people are congratulating him for this discovery, for this take. But you want to know something about that and Matt Walsh? I want you to take a little trip down memory lane because unlike a lot of other people, if you watch my show, you know this about me, and maybe you're the same way. We don't have collective amnesia. We do not have brain rot here. We remember what people said and what people did last week and last month and last.
But they act like we don't. So, here you go.
Last year and 2 years ago. And I'm old enough to remember, and I have enough of a recall to remember that Matt Walsh went on Tucker Carlson's show last year, and do you know what he said about the Middle East? His take on the Middle East a year ago is that if you are extremely pro-Israel, and if you are extremely anti-Israel, that both sides of that conversation are not putting America first. He said the real America first position is to be indifferent to the developments in the Middle East, indifferent to Palestine, indifferent to Iran, indifferent to Lebanon and Yemen. He said the real America first position is to fixate on what happens in America and school board meetings and the economy and Disney Plus and transgender athletes competing in girls' sports and all that. He said he really did the both sides thing. If you're obsessed with the Middle East as anti-Israel or pro-Israel, those are two sides of the same coin and they're both wrong. Well, you know what? And I said this on Twitter in reply to his epiphany that this war in Iran is bad. We have been marching toward a war in Iran for 2.5 years. And even longer than that. We have been marching toward a war in Iran really since like 2003. If you want to know the truth. And it really accelerated in 2018 when Trump pulled us out of the Iran nuclear deal. And then after October 7th, it was a fait accompli. It was inevitable. And there were some people that have been putting up the flare about this for a long time and warning people, pay attention to the Middle East. And what's more, pay attention to what is happening domestically. Because there is a dual track here. At once, you have very troubling developments in the Middle East. Clearly, Israel has undertaken since October 7th this ambitious expansionist project to steamroll Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the other Shiite militias, and then to decapitate Iran. That is obvious to anyone who is paying attention. That is the plan, was the plan, has always been the plan. And the other part of it is that simultaneously in America, the Jews have been ascending in politics, on the Republican side in particular, taking critical national security roles, infiltrating the MAGA movement, Mar-a-Lago, the Republican Party, because they believe that the Trump administration, that a Trump presidency will facilitate all of this. They will deliver Israel's agenda using the U.S. military.
Basically, they are weak. Basically, they're weak.
And like I said, for years, people have been pointing this out, like myself, like yours truly, and many other people. And all along the way, every step of the way, every step on this pathway towards the war in Iran, we've had people like Matt Walsh telling us, you are obsessed with the Middle East. You are obsessed with Israel. That's overblown. You have gone so anti-Israel that you are now America last because your fixation is on that region. I'm the real America first because I'm indifferent to all that stuff over there.
Exactly. I mean, we need to prioritize domestic needs. Domestic needs, you know. Our taxpayer dollars should go here domestically. Not over there, here. I agree with Nick on this. Let's go, Nick.
In a word, every step of the way, they have tried to distract us. They have tried to obstruct us, gaslight us. They have told us to bury our head in the sand as all of these developments have been happening. And this has been a long time coming. After October 7th, we gave Israel $26 billion to prosecute their war in Gaza. After October 7th, we intervened in Yemen in a full-fledged air and sea campaign against the Houthi rebels. We bombed Iran last year, and everybody told us it's not a big deal. It's not a real war. We just carried out one strike, and then that was it, and now it's over. Now here we are. Now here we are in a regime change war in Iran. It's going to cost us $200 billion.
$200 billion. The United States shouldn't be pulled into wars that don't directly threaten national security. We should not be in wars that we are not directly threatened by national security. We should not be in wars. Our taxpayer money should be here. So, this is insane.
There might be a ground operation next week, and now they tell us, I don't think this war is a good idea. Oh, really? You don't say. Well, where were you every other step that led up to this? Oh, yeah, you were telling us to look the other way and stop paying attention. You were minimizing the issue and downplaying it.
Gaslighting.
And the reason that I say this, make a note. The reason I'm saying this is not to toot my own horn and say, you were wrong, I was right. Because people might say, well, who really cares? As long as we all wound up in the same place, what difference really does it
He's definitely tooting his own horn. He
make who was wrong and who was right? The reason I say this is because that was a very particular point of view, and still is, that is being promulgated. And I would say this is the indifferentist opinion, which is that Israel is not really that big of a problem. It's not really that big of an issue. It's really more of a distraction. People look at it as an inconvenience. They say, well, this Israel thing happens to be blowing up the MAGA coalition. Isn't that unfortunate? Israel may have pressured us into the war. Gee, maybe that was a mistake. But obviously, they and their lobby have played a central influence. They're obviously the driving force. They've orchestrated all of this, which has led to all of these outcomes. The fiscal cost of the war, the Americans dead in the war, the catastrophic ramifications for the global economy and our allies and credibility and deterrence in the world, the explosion of the MAGA movement, the division in our camp. They have played a central role. They have orchestrated all of it. And here's the point. You can't be America first unless you are pushing in the opposite direction, forcefully and explicitly every day. That's the point. It's not one issue among others. Clearly, this is a huge problem. If the Iran war is destroying the MAGA movement, if the Iran war is blowing up the dissident right nationalist movement, if it's forcing America to fight another regime change war in Iran, then there is no way to get to America first without confronting Israel. You understand? You can't sidestep it. You can't avoid it. You can't go over it, around it, underneath it. The only way to get to America first is through Israel first. It has to be confronted. It has to be destroyed. That's it. That's the only way. It's Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, Randy Fine, Jared Kushner. It's Fox News. It's The Blaze. It's people like Josh Hammer. These people are standing in the way, directly obstructing our goals. They have to lose. They have to be defeated. And the only way they can be defeated is if they are decisively confronted. We have to call them out. We have to expose them for what they are. We have to make the argument, not with dog whistles, not incrementally, explicitly, all the time, every day, until we win. That's it. And I don't know how anybody can take a guy like Matt Walsh seriously. He goes on the show and says Americans are dying in Iran, $200 billion in Iran. It's exploding our movement, dividing our movement. And he goes to work every day for Ben Shapiro, who is practically the chief propagandist promoting the war. He, along with Mark Levin and all the others, how can you entertain this contradiction? How do you not see that? And then you realize, of course, Matt Walsh, he does see it. He's not a dumb guy. He knows what Ben Shapiro is. He sees it, and he sees our comments, and he sees our replies, and he chooses selectively not to engage. And so in a way, you have to understand that the people that are like Matt Walsh, they're actually our biggest enemy, in a way. They might actually be the biggest impediment. And you want to know why that is? Because if everybody is watching the Ben Shapiro show, they see a short, ugly Jew with a big yarmulke commanding us to die for Israel. And it is plain for everyone to see. It is unambiguous. They see a short, ugly Jew with a big hat, a hateful, odious, disgusting person. Could not be more obvious whose side he's on, what country he has allegiance to. It would be naked and transparent what is going on there. And equally, people watch my show, and they may think I'm an anti-Semite, and they may think I'm anti-Israel, and I say let them think that. But at the end of the day, they see someone that is promoting America first, claiming America first, born in America, loving America only, against the Israel lobby. And if that were the dialectic, it would be pretty clear which side 90% of conservatives would take. If that was the dialectic, if that was the argument, Shapiro, foam finger, flag waving, yarmulke wearing, Israel firster versus America first, you know 99% of Americans take my side every day of the week. But then you introduce somebody like Matt Walsh. And somebody like Matt Walsh is going to beat his chest every day about how he's proud to be white. And he's going to air his grievances about brown and black people and immigrants and wokeness and transgenders in the media and in sports and so on. And he's going to take a position on Israel that's not actually all that definitive. Well, I just don't really care that much. Well, I'm just, unlike Nick Fuentes and Ben Shapiro, I'm not obsessed with it. I'm indifferent. Now, once you introduce a guy like that, it muddies the waters a little bit. Because then there's a lot of people who are going to say, you know, I don't like Shapiro, but maybe Nick Fuentes is too extreme. I guess I'm like Matt Walsh. I guess I just don't really care that much about the issue. I guess I just don't understand why everybody cares so much about Palestine for some reason. Why everybody cares so much about Iran for some reason. Aren't they Muslims? How's that any better? And all of a sudden, now you've split the difference. And now maybe you got 50% that go Matt Walsh and 30% that go Shapiro and 30% or 20% that go my way. You see? For 2 years, we've been marching towards a war with Iran. People have been trying to warn you. I have been trying to warn you every single day, saying, look at how all of this is progressing. Look at the developments in the Middle East that are leading to this. It's not just, why do I care about Palestine? Because Israel is using that as a pretext. It is also the long-term goal as well. They're using that to roll October 7th into a justification for a war in Lebanon and a war in Iran, which has now become a regional conflict. And that was always the point. And I spelled that out from day one. The war in Gaza will eventually become a full-on war with Iran, and it can't be done without us. And all along the way, every step, they told us, just don't think about that. Don't look over there. Look over here. Look at Disney Plus. Look at the Transgender Soccer League or whatever. Oh, those people like Sneeko and Fuentes and the rest of them, they're third worldists. Oh, they just care about Palestine. They're left wing spiritually. They lost the plot. And that's why for 2 years, conservatives buried their head in the sand, and that's why they're all so surprised. And they say, well, I thought the war was a bad idea. What, a few weeks ago? We've been headed here for years. And by the way, if the end result of Matt Walsh and the conservative movement is to get you to look away for just long enough for them to achieve what they want, that's all they need. Don't you understand that? Some people say, well, this war has woken people up now. Yeah, well, it's a little late. We're 5 weeks in now. This is week number 5. And look at the price of oil and look at what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. There is one way out of this in the long term, and that is regime change. That's the only way out of this. You think we're getting a deal? You think Iran is giving the Strait of Hormuz back? How exactly is that going to work? We're already through the looking glass. We are on the other side. Oh, now you think it's a bad idea. After we killed the Ayatollah, after we bombed them 13,000 times, after they seized the Strait of Hormuz and crashed the global economy, now you realize what happened? It's too late. It's too late now. Now people say, how can we turn it around? What can we do? We should protest. We should call the White House. Call the White House. What are you going to tell the White House that will change the reality on the ground in the Middle East or in the markets? There's nothing you can say, nothing you can post on Twitter, nothing you can tell the president that he doesn't know. There's nothing that can be done. It's too late. They didn't need to pull the wool over your eyes forever. They just needed you to look the other way for long enough for them to make their move. And they did. Netanyahu went to the White House or the United States 5 times, 6 times last year, and then came back another time this year.
He did do that. What do you think? You think Nick Fuentes is out of his mind here? You know, I don't know if we're too late or what's going on. Yeah. Are we too late? Pretty much. Let me know. What do you think? We need a regime change. Is that what we need? We need to get this clown out of there. Yeah. Like, follow, subscribe. Let's go.